Hey everybody, welcome to Free Think. I'm your host Shane Clark. I'm joined by you, the audience, and a guy named Phil.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, brother? So we're just gonna dive into it today. I mean, I don't really want to beat around the bush. I just want to get to this because we have a lot of information to cover.
We do. Way too much, actually.
And the best part about it is, because of this coronavirus, we don't have to worry about the time.
We don't really have to worry about much of anything now.
Yeah, pretty much. We don't really have to worry about much of anything. We got the time. But I don't know if you guys do. But regardless, if you, that's actually going to be our topic today. We're going to break down the coronavirus, and it's not going to be like we're just going to trash all over it, all right? So don't even worry about that. But first things first, we want to explain to you what it is, because I think there's a lot of people that don't actually understand what it is.
A lot of people don't. They just know about it.
They just know it by name.
Right.
But they don't actually know what it is.
What is it exactly? What is a coronavirus exactly?
So we're actually going to talk about it right now. So it is a respiratory disease, okay? It is spreadable.
Very highly contagious.
Yeah, highly contagious. You can spread it from person to person. So, but it is a respiratory disease, okay? It attacks the lungs.
Basically, that's exactly what it means. Your lungs and anything that involves breathing.
So that's incredibly important. So that's thing number one. And by the way, it is now classified as a pandemic, respiratory disease. Okay, that's kind of important. A lot of people don't know the difference between pandemic and epidemic.
What's the difference, epidemic and pandemic?
The global scale of the outreach of a disease.
There you go.
So if one can be contained within one certain spot or within a certain
That
country.
reminds me of the word epicenter.
Yes.
It's a central location.
So for example, say there's a disease in California.
Correct.
But it's stuck in one specific part of California. That's an outbreak, but it's stuck within that specific part of California, right?
Right.
If it reaches beyond the borders and it keeps going and spreading until it's everywhere,
Pandemic.
there you go. So now you guys know the difference. It's kind of important because a lot of people keep calling it an epidemic. It's not.
It's far worse.
It's fucking global now. Yeah, it's fucking global.
It's far worse now.
Okay. So that's kind of important. So understand that now that it's become a pandemic, each individual country is trying to monitor the issue at hand, which is the coronavirus itself, which we are going to talk about. But it's very important that you understand the distinction between the two of them, because an epidemic it doesn't affect everybody. As long as the country where the disease originates from spreads out information immediately and leaks it out, which we'll get to also, because that's kind of very, very fucking important. But if it's right now, it's a pandemic, so each individual country has closed off its borders and is trying to find ways to contain it. The U.S. is different in the fact that we have state-run governments.
Everything's a little separated.
Yes.
What's unique about our republic?
And all 50 states have cases of the coronavirus. Each one of them.
They do. All of them do.
Yes. And they've all, for the most part, are pretty good about reporting and recording it. You know what I mean?
Well, we have more tests than anywhere in the world. And another thing, I mean, people are talking about the lack of tests and this and that, but I always want to remind people, if anybody's going to do the best job of tests, it's the United States by far. So a lot of countries probably are under, there's obviously some cases where people are underreporting their figures or numbers and stuff, but inside the United States, we do actually have more tests available. We have the best doctors, best people here in this country. So
I agree.
It could actually even be look like it's worse in the United States, which I'm not saying it's not bad. It's bad. It's up there. But you always have to rely about your sources. Are these other countries, are they doing enough tests like we are? Or is their population a lot bigger? For example, we're a huge country.
Yes.
So that basically means we have a lot more spread of territory. We have farmlands and stuff like that.
Yep.
Not everybody's able to go down. We're all spread out and stuff. So we're gonna have situations where it looks, kind of relatively worse. However, if you think about it, we're not confined like some other places like Japan, for example, where everything's closed off. It's kind of easy to do testing there. It's not that big, not that much population.
And that also brings to the overpopulation problem too. Because the more people there are in a particular place, the more they're at risk of a disease.
That makes a lot of sense right there. Yeah.
So Japan right now is one of those situations where where it can be really fucked. Like they can be really fucked.
I don't know if Japan's having huge. I haven't heard of.
No. I'm just saying that if it got big enough.
I think Japan's actually done
a pretty good job.
I haven't heard of it. If you have heard something out there, I mean, I haven't heard anything.
Well, there's a lot of restaurants that are actually saying that we don't want any Chinese. This I've actually seen on.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, they don't want any Chinese right now with the disease entering in certain restaurants. But that gets more onto a morality problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right now it comes to a health problem, which is what right now we're kind of just trying to explain right now. So for me, right, I didn't. The media didn't really cover much of it in its inception when information about it was released.
You're talking about your experiences.
Yeah. So I heard stuff about it like in January and stuff. Well, kind of like late December, like going into the year.
A lot. I've heard about it. I haven't heard about from way too many media. What was happening in January? Let's think about that. We were talking about we forgot. It's kind of
impeachment, pretty much.
Talking about impeachment.
That's the whole thing that dominated the entire media source.
Time. They weren't talking. Meanwhile, in January, this huge thing happened. I actually, to be honest with you, I'm always skeptical. That's my nature. Mm-hmm. Even when it comes out with a news source that's credible, I'm always like, all right, let's take all the facts into situations. Mm-hmm. I didn't think we were going to have something like this. And I can tell you pretty much on a massive scale, I was, I think I was wrong about that. I didn't think it was going to be anywhere near this type of level of shutting down the government. But to credit of what we did do, and this is one thing. I'm not trying to be pro-president here, but I am actually trying to say, hey, he did shut down the borders. That was a huge thing that he did when it was a very unpopular decision at that time. He was accused of being xenophobic, not homophobic. Oops, sorry.
But he's always fucking accused of that though.
Right.
So that's besides the point. But that doesn't apply here. Is what Phil's basically.
No, I'm about to say xenophobic, racist, this and that. He shut down the borders. That was a good thing. We'd have been a lot worse situation today if he didn't do that. As far as my personal experience, I thought, okay, just another type of epidemic. People were freaking, always hyping things up. I think the problem is there's always hypes up about meltdown and global warming and the Earth's going to collapse. And I've heard this for years, that when the actual serious pandemic comes out, now we're like, oh shoot. Now we always hear about the calamity of things happening where things are going to go bad themselves. And what ends up happening instead, most of the time, it's not that big of a deal. It was a way overlooked or way over projected. And then for the very first time in like 100 years, the very first one before that was a Spanish flu that we've had anything remotely close to this. But as far as that, I didn't really finally up to I want to say I guess in February, that's when I was like, all right, this is a real serious thing right here. And we heard about what happened in Wuhan, China, and how that spread, and then found out Italy and all these other countries. Then I was like, all right, this is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, dude, the media never actually really covered it much.
They didn't. They were talking
because they didn't really care. So that's how I look at it. Because the whole thing is when there's a new illness.
That should have been the biggest story.
Not even that. Every time there's a new illness, it should always be announced to the public immediately. So in January, I was working.
You were working?
Yeah, I was working until it was the time to move on to another job. But because of this fucking coronavirus, I never got to get another job. Right? So in the meantime, we had to find a way to cope and work around it. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, well, okay, well, fuck. And this thing has kept a lot of people out of work. All my friends got furloughed already. Like, none of them have jobs anymore. And it's because of, and those that are essential, such as electricians and things like that, of that nature, construction workers, right? They keep the infrastructure going through construction projects. And they're working, but only a limited number of them. It's not every one of them, it's a limited number of them. Mostly because they don't want to bring people that have been on the books, which, by the way, if you're union, if you're not union, sorry, what it means is like, it's an out of work book. Basically, you sign it, they try to get, and when there's a job call, they call you up if you're in the book, depending on your position number, and they get you, they dispatch to y'all doing work. So that's what that is. But they're not I don't think they're trying to get new individual people, they're trying to get them to stay at home so they don't infest their workers, because you do need workers constantly to move an economy. So from January to February is when, like you mentioned before, it's when it started to get extremely crazy, and then to the point where March, from the beginning of March all the way till now, it's been shut down.
Right.
It's been all shut down now, you know? And to me, it's just fucking incredible. It should have never gotten to this point.
What do you think should have happened instead?
When you see an epidemic, epidemic state, right?
Sure.
You fucking share the information.
Yeah. So that goes to our other point that's coming up. You want to discuss that right now?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about China's.
The reason why I want to discuss that right now is because I think it's the one that people more care about. Because the fact of the matter is, when there's a fucking disease that you've never heard of before, right? You've never fucking heard of it before.
Right.
You don't fucking think the people want to know that there's something that could potentially kill them?
Absolutely. You want to find out that right away. And that comes on to the point where we were discussing a little earlier before the show. We want to talk about China's government. The COVID-19 involvement specifically, how
China's government, understand that, not the people. The people are all right. In fact, the people are just as pissed about it as everybody else.
Yeah, we're attacking the government.
We're talking about the people that they have in power right now, because
I'll just say this, they fucked up. They didn't do their job. They tried to conceal this information. They caused this whole entire situation that we're having right now. If the Chinese have done their part and shared it through the World Health Organization, who, by the way, a lot of times, it's not popular to say this, but you know what, they're kind of, they don't like to comment on the Chinese. They're kind of in the pockets of the Chinese government too, so that's another scary thing that's happening. So we're having people still not blaming China to this day, when we know damn well the Chinese government could have prevented this entire scenario.
But do you know why?
Go ahead.
Because people think it's racist.
Oh, okay. Well,
and here's the thing, right? Here's my thing with that. China's government literally had the virus happen within its own country.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that tried to talk about it, suppressed, jailed, never heard from them again.
They went away. Some of these people were.
What the fuck? No, seriously. Like,
remember that doctor that came out? I forgot his name. I wish I remembered it.
The fucking news. There's remember a news reporter. There was a doctor. There was just a regular.
He died, and he actually knew about the virus, and I guess they tried to make him go away. Who knows what actually happened in China? I'm not a conspiracy, but I do know the Chinese
people have been just abducted. Just talking about the fucking thing. It's like China's government is trying to prevent them from getting a bad image of itself.
Right.
They care more about the fucking image rather than the health of the people, which to me is fucked up for anybody. You know what I mean? Your people come first. There's the term public servant.
If the Chinese government had told us
mean something
right away, in which we actually shut down our borders a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
As going on, that was probably one of the greatest things that the president has done, in my opinion, because that's one, saving people's lives and stuff. Obviously, the good news about
not everything that Trump says or does is bad.
Absolutely, and that goes
with anybody
in power. Even
Clinton.
Obama,
and I'm not a big fan of Obama,
but he did some stuff.
But he did do some stuff. Not everything he said or did was bad. Now, that doesn't. I'm not trying to say that Trump is a complete success either, because I'm not a fan of his either.
We'll talk. Yeah, okay.
But at the same time, too, this is one of the pros, Because
Close down the border.
Because I don't give a fuck who the power is. What I care about is my fellow fucking people,
The Americans.
Americans, and just humans.
Human beings.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now, this isn't an American problem.
This is a global problem.
This is a fucking world human problem. A human problem.
Here's what happened as far as
And
basic.
them, who had all the fucking knowledge of this fucking disease,
Absolutely right.
contained it, trapped it, didn't say shit. They try to make it seem like it was some kind of a common cold and make it try to disappear or whatever the fuck.
So we definitely should call this the fucking Chinese fucking virus.
It is a Chinese virus.
Because they started this
Well, no,
shit.
correction. It's not a Chinese virus. It's China's virus,
It is China's virus.
not a Chinese one. I think China's virus would be much more appropriate here because where did it originate?
From China.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that goes on our next topic as far as that political correctness on the term Chinese virus.
Okay. So with this, I see this shit like on Facebook almost every day. We were saying that people are fucking racist against Asians. If you're one of those fucking people that says stop being racist against Asians, shut the fuck up because you're it's not against Asians, all right? I'm not saying that people aren't rude and they're not fucked up, but this shit irritates the fuck out of me because because for individuals like me, I'm not racist at all. I don't hate the Chinese at all.
Me neither. Most
It's
people
not
don't.
because it's not their fault.
Absolutely.
It's the government's fault. It's their fault. The government's fault.
Oh, let me tell you.
So when somebody says, right?
Right, go ahead.
When somebody says a Chinese virus, I don't think they're being racist. They just didn't find they didn't put in a right way of saying it.
Well, let me tell you. Things have gotten politically correct. Spanish flu. A bunch of viruses. Ebola.
But nobody fucking cares about they call it the Spanish flu.
Nobody cared. You know why? Because it was accurate.
Because that's where it fucking came from.
Here's how I look at it. If you're using it in the reference of its geological location, if you're not talking about the actual people itself, like when you call it Spanish flu, we're not talking about Spaniards.
What did we say in our last podcast?
People ruin shit.
And context fucking matters.
Always matters. It does, right? So when people talk about
This always comes back to the episode titles.
like we had a lot of the news titles. Here's the funny thing. I don't know if you guys out there were noticing, but people on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all the major news stations, they were calling it the Chinese virus. They're calling it the Wuhan virus. They're calling it China's virus. Everything, right? They're
Chinese
calling.
connotations to everything. Yeah.
They said that, and nobody mocked them or nobody said that they're rude, this and that. They were just
Well, CNN is not a credible news source, but that's
well, that can be argued for other ones as well, but but I want to say that they were in that particular instance. They're talking about the disease. We don't have any type of. Here's my problem about attacking the name of the virus. It's not going towards the problem. The problem isn't the freaking name; it's the actual situation of it, right? So it's not attacking Chinese people. People have known it's been very, very common to call names by their location. Ebola, that's a river. Okay, that's the name of a river. I think it's in Africa somewhere. Okay, that's they've had all sorts of different names for viruses. I'm not, I can look it up right now. I can come up with tons and tons of different names, but it's been very, very, very common. So
if animals get named based on geography, what do you think viruses? How do they get named?
And
Right?
locations.
Exactly.
It's accuracy. So the problem is people are trying to twist words about it being politically correct.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people that take it to the extreme. Like I've heard of. I haven't actually physically seen, but I've heard of fucking people go. Where an Asian, they're trying to shop around, they see an Asian and they cop them to their shoulder and automatically they start giving them shit. Okay? Like
Right.
I've seen it. I've heard of people say it. I've never seen it happen, but I've heard people say it. Right? That's wrong. That is racist. But to call it a Chinese virus is not.
I mean,
it just sounds bad, but it's not really the case.
Let me give you some examples. Here's some diseases. The West Nile virus.
Named from the West Nile district of Uganda.
Now,
Oh, by the way, it was discovered in 1937. Just in case you were wondering.
this one right here,
The Guinea worm.
Guinea worm, thank you. Named by European explorers for the Guinea coast of West Africa in the 1600s. Rocky Mountain spot. This is funny. Rocky Mountains spotted fever.
came from Idaho. Idaho.
You the hoe. Not joking. I'm just joking. All right.
Don't worry, Phil. After the podcast is over, I'll kill you.
Oh, it's my last
Lyme disease. Another one. That one's from Connecticut.
Ross River fever.
There's a fucking ton of them.
Middle East respiratory syndrome. Now, people have done this for a long time. They might have, and I've heard maybe they've changed their tactics on that, but we shouldn't attack people using it unless they're actually attacking somebody directly, offensively or something like that. But if you're using it in the context of the name, you shouldn't have any type of
whoever names the disease can't pick what they associate it with.
So there are a lot of stuff.
The people in itself associate something with, for example, the T-Rex. I'm gonna use a dinosaur example here. The T-Rex, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, its original name is not the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Where does it?
I don't remember its actual original name, but its original name has now become something known as a junior synonym.
Okay.
Well, a junior synonym is basically it's a word for some. It's a name for something that can still be recognized. You wouldn't be wrong for calling it that, basically. And the Tyrannosaurus Rex is the name that got popularized by the people. But when the T-Rex was first discovered, it wasn't called the Tyrannosaurus Rex. They eventually changed the name, and now people recognize it as the Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's the same thing with the coronavirus. The coronavirus may be its official name, but what are people going to recognize and associate it most with? China, right? so I'm saying calling it China's virus is it's its junior synonym.
One of the things too, I want to talk about this a little earlier, but I think in my personal experience as far as that, I don't think we had I never thought like we would have the economic situation happening in turmoil like it has. We were actually at the highest level of unemployment in a long time in this country. And just in a matter of about a month, bam, all the way opposite direction. The economy went down. I think the S&P right now is around like 2,100.
Dude, all investment stocks went to shit.
And now, I mean, granted, we're still higher than we were, but we were up around 2,900. Now I think it's averaged around 20-ish. It actually went a little lower than that too. I think up to like 19 or so. But the thing is, I think more importantly, because the virus doesn't really necessarily kill everybody. It contacts the majority of people that have it. If you're healthy, you're going to survive.
As long as you have attention on you. Because if you're left alone, you're going to die. That's fact. If you're left alone with no one to attend to you while you're suffering with the virus, you're gonna die. Because when something attacks your respiratory system, the smallest kind of fucking movement makes it hard for you to breathe and move and operate. And what do you need? There's two things the body needs besides nourishment and food. You need oxygen and water.
Right.
And you can't have it both ways. You have to breathe. Obviously, if you don't breathe, you fucking die. You're gonna hold your breath. Your body's gonna fight for air.
You're done.
So with the corona, as long as you have somebody attending to you, you'll be okay. But if you're that's if you're healthy. That's if you're healthy, right?
Well, here's
you have a higher chance to combat it. But if you have a shitty immune system, or if your immune system is aged, you're gonna fucking die.
I've also heard too that if you had other symptoms before this, I guess you'd say in togetherness or I basically having multiple symptoms at the same time, you're gonna that's gonna make it,
it'll inflame it more, yeah.
Inflame your symptoms. Your symptoms, your survival rate a lot more. So that's one of the things that the economy actually is one of the things that I think we have two different types of people focusing right now. Now we have like Dr. Fauci, the leading.
Dr. what?
Dr. Fauci. He's on the president's team. He's one of the leading health specialists of all time, at least of our era. Okay, you're gonna have our doctors. Now, if you have it up to him, he wants us to be in quarantine for like a year.
Dude, I know.
That's, but I mean, you have to think about it. He's looking from a lens of a doctor, okay? A doctor's number one thing is to cure the disease. He has a good job. He's not going to go bankrupt or anything like that. He's wealthy, he's rich, he's prosperous.
An essential worker, yeah.
But he doesn't really see like the other type of aspect of that. If you go to the economist,
because he never went through an emo phase.
if you go through economists and stuff,
We know that's true.
you didn't go through emo phase, probably not.
He never went
Doesn't
through
look like that happened, but you could go through economists. What is an economist going to tell you? He's worried about
We
that.
need fucking money.
Absolutely.
Like,
And if you don't have money, you don't
That's
need
thing number one. Yeah.
So-
It's like, what is an economist going to? What is the economist going to tell you? We need fucking.
So anybody out there that says that they have all the perfect answers out there, if there's news media, they're fucking lying to you. Because if you say lockdown the United States for an entire year, that's going to have dire consequences with everything. Our military funds, we're going to have a country in jeopardy. The United States needs to be up on track. We need to be prosperous. We need to be running. We need to get back to life as soon as possible. However, on how to do that, that's where you can actually have moments of disagreements, because I don't know if there's a correct answer. This is a very complicated situation. We haven't had anything like this. We've had Congress talk about doing something about these type of diseases. They've had plenty of time to do it. It's both parties, Republicans and Democrats, have failed. They've always talked about other type of shit, other type of stuff, and they've never done anything about it. If there's any pros, I guess, in this particular case, I know our country is going to be a lot better off now than it ever has been against these type of situations, because we had to do a lot of learning, a lot of learning stuff. It's been a huge learning curve for us, and now that is going to be some good news. But as far as that, a lot of people have lost lives. And in previous administration, we had something called the swine flu. What happened during that time was nothing, actually. Nobody gave a shit, nobody cared. 17,000 people died.
But what happened when the swine flu was noticed? Who said shit?
I don't remember anybody making a peep about it, to be honest with you. Do you?
Hell yeah, I do. Because I was in high school when it happened.
Go on.
Dude, as soon as swine flu people start, as soon as that thing was a thing, right? Everybody was fucking talking about it. Everybody.
But we weren't doing any type of thing like this.
Yeah, we were. Well, no, not to the extreme, no, because it wasn't a pandemic.
Yeah.
It was an epidemic, though.
Yeah, it was.
Definitely fucking was. And so, but like I said, the only reason why we came up to these extreme measures is because it became a global fucking problem. Right? Once Mexico itself did a really good fucking job of containing the fucking swine flu. They did an incredible fucking job. Mexicans, you should be fucking proud of yourselves. Right?
Good job, Mexicans.
Yeah, good job, Mexicans.
Actually, they're doing a pretty good job right now. I don't think they have much of a problem with the COVID virus.
Let me get back to you on that, because I'm not sure. But here's what I do know though. America is probably, I would say, one of the biggest countries in the world. You know what I mean? Obviously, by biological standards. A lot of people care about what happens here because they use our model into their things. For example, a lot of what happens here, the British media covers, right? Same thing with Mexico.
I'll tell you why they did a good job last time and now. A lot of people don't realize this, but as far as border control, Mexico was fucking hardcore on their freaking border situation. You can't really go, it's hard that they're very, very strict. Now, if you're crossing over and you're going to go to the United States in the past, oh yeah, they'll let you cross over. But if you're actually talking about living in Mexico, they have huge immigration, it's hard actually. If you look at I haven't done a lot, but if you look at how they become Mexican citizen, that's very, very hard.
If you do it the legal way.
Even if you do it the legal way, they have to.
The illegal way will get you fucking.
You said illegal. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, the legal way you're fucked. Yeah. But anyway, but back to pertaining to my original point. Everybody follows. America pretty much gets followed by a lot of the big countries. They like to know what the fuck goes on here, right? So Mexico is no exception. They like to know what the fuck goes on here, mostly because they're our closest neighbor besides the Canadians.
I've heard some stuff like on Sky News, for example, that covers.
But with the swine flu situation, how this pertains to the swine flu situation, let me rein it back in a little bit.
Sure.
As soon as the swine flu situation was a thing, Mexicans were like, fuck, we need to talk about this shit. Right? And so America was the first ones to know, mostly because they're our neighbors, right? I mean, we were bound to find out eventually anyway, but Mexico was really cool about just telling everybody, hey, we have a fucking outbreak here. Because they didn't call it an epidemic at first. They called it an outbreak. And then they realized, oh wait, it's centered right here. So then they became an epidemic. But it was manageable though. It never went beyond that scope of fear. It eventually became just a joke. Like we would be memeing about it in class or something like that. You know, like when somebody coughed, oh, you got swine flu. Basically, you know what I mean? So like that. It was containable. It was contained to a certain extent. For the most part, the Mexicans did a really good job of containing the swine flu, right? Which is why we need Mexicans, all right? We need Mexicans. But that was the difference between swine flu and this.
Well, it's highly more infectious.
This shit, right?
Yeah.
They could have done what Mexico did and contained it within itself. Then they would have been able to deal with it at that point.
The problem was, what happened, I believe China first found out in November, December of last year.
No, I don't believe that. And here's why I don't believe that. Because can we really trust them?
No. When their government knew, not when we knew.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They supposedly found out in November, December, right?
Correct.
Supposedly,
but
we don't know if they're telling the truth or not. Because, like I said, we don't know when that fucking virus actually originated. This is not a conspiracy theory, by the way. This is just a logical. This is a logical conclusion I can draw from that. I can't trust what they fucking say because they suppress information.
They do. They're communist government. They don't tell us shit.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we know that they're telling the truth when they say they quote unquote discovered it? Allegedly, I would say allegedly discovered it, right? Because we don't have proof. I'm not going to take them for their fucking
now. They've actually recently opened up Wuhan, where this all started. So that's actually, they're slowly letting people go in. However, they have complete control over their people. They have tests for each one of their citizens. They have a huge controlling environment, but they actually finally opened up their borders.
They're spraying the streets.
But I mean, that's a huge calamity that happened, and it happened in Italy, which is still facing huge. I think it's finally sort of dying down, but it's still facing a huge tragedy.
What about the feminist march in Spain? Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
The fucking feminist march in Spain that caused more people to get fucking coronavirus? You dumb motherfuckers.
Tell me about that. I missed that.
Really? I could have sworn I spoke about this last podcast. Okay, so in Spain, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Fucking retards. Not the Spanish, but the fucking idiots that decided to congregate and start marching.
That reminds me very similar.
And I don't even care that they're feminists. I would have said it if they were MRAs. I would have said it across the board.
Right.
You guys are fucking stupid. Right? You know there's a fucking problem going on, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you congregate all in a group, regardless of what your political affiliation is. You could have been far left, you could have been far right, you could have been center right, center left. Doesn't fucking matter.
There's a fucking virus.
There's a fucking virus outside.
What do you fucking do?
Fucking idiots. Why would the fuck
that reminds me of what happened.
They congregated, right? And then they marched through the streets in a fucking corona zone.
Idiots.
You fucking retards. You stupid fucking idiots. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm raging over this, right?
When was that actually? Do you remember?
I don't remember. March for sure.
So this month they doing it? Sorry, last month?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fucking idiots.
Especially by March when we knew all the shit was going on. They're doing that.
So my whole thing was just like, bro, for real though, like you just made it fucking worse.
Right.
Like, oh, look, I get it. People need to interact. But right now is not the time for protests.
Well,
right now is time for unity.
This is what reminds me of what happened, that same scenario, and I think it was like in February, maybe, with the mayor of New York. Well, maybe not him specifically, but his the person who runs Health and Human Services there. She's like the head. They had some parade going on, and they're actually even the mayor himself, I believe, they were saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. Go on your regular lives. Go on and have that parade." They had some sort of festival happening. Forgot what it was, but this actually did happen. You can look it up if you want. And a lot of these people, the media was in denial about it. They didn't talk about this type of thing. they're just like telling people, hey, go about your regular day. This is fine right here. And they had some misinformation.
Idiots.
Just to be able to, I don't know why they didn't take it seriously.
What do people do, Phil? What do people do?
Well, in fairness, and just to be in fairness, we haven't had anything like this in 100 years.
What do people do, Phil?
They ruin shit.
They fucking ruin shit.
That's their slogan here.
Fuck.
People fucking ruin shit. If you haven't counted on before,
God.
This is like kind of our underlying theme of this entire podcast.
Context matters and people ruin shit. That's basically the whole fucking thing of our fucking podcast.
You can sum down what was that, like 4 words?
Basically. It's like fucking 7.
Oh, I think it's 5 actually.
People ruin shit.
Yeah.
Context matters. Yeah, you're right. It's 5.
It's 5 words. That's exactly the whole point. As far as that though, it's basically, just so you guys know out there, remember the cover up. That's a recommendation now. Even though I've looked up some science about
everybody
that.
needs to turn into ninjas. Put masks on.
I looked it up now. Up until about a week ago or so, they're talking, and I looked up actually of what I don't know if that's actually gonna help you not catch it. If you do have it, it's gonna help you not spread it. That's basically what's gonna. If you have it and you don't know that you have the symptoms, because it's not like other viruses. It's a lot more highly contagious. So what that means.
Usually respiratory illnesses are though. They're usually more contagious. Mostly because you can pass them on through just without contact. You as long as you're in within a certain proximity of an individual, you can pass respiratory.
The biggest problem with this is people don't know that they have the symptoms and they're spreading it. But if you cover
and they can't get tested for it because right now they don't really care. They care more about the patients that already have confirmed to have it.
Which I mean, in a sense, with a huge country like we have, it's kind of hard to be able to do that. Have everyone get tested. There's millions and millions of people here. So,
is there a home kit?
There is a company called Abbott. I don't know if you heard about this. Actually, I'm researching them. Those of you that don't know, I invest in stocks. It's one of these companies.
Poorly, I might add.
Well,
that's a joke. That was a joke.
But Abbott is, if you guys are out there, you should definitely look into Abbott, because that company actually has some huge potential to boom. And they're actually coming out with a test under like 5-10 minutes, something like that. Very first time, very, very rapid, where they can actually test and see if you have this disease. That's going to be expanding everywhere. So that's one of the companies that's doing that. That's going to be revolutionary too. It's been a huge help. As far as that, we have some other stuff we were talking about.
But for the people that do they have, is there like a home kit?
Abbott, I believe, I haven't.
Because that's important.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with your cell phone or something like that.
Because the reason why I ask, right? It's true. Not all hospitals and clinics can test everybody, and those that are diagnosed with corona should have mandatory testing first. By the way, what makes our podcast really cool, by the way, everybody, is that when we don't know something, we actually research it on the spot. So before, in between, when we're doing a segment, just in case, this is just to give you a heads up, we actually research before we get and do an episode, but also sometimes we're not very sure about something, we actually look it up and we research because we care. We care about what we say,
We definitely do. We always want to try to have, you always want to try to have your facts straight.
But going back to what I was originally saying, it would be cool if there was like a testing kit that you could send out from home to home and then send results. If you were negative, you'd be fine, and you don't have to do shit about it. But then if you get a result that says back you're positive, but then of course, how would you test that, when to get the results back? You know what I mean? That's kind of important too.
It looks like a little small box, something really simple. There's a picture of it right here. I don't know exactly how it specifically works. I have to do some more research on that, but that's what it essentially looks like. It's like a little white box, a little small kit. I'll have to look up. I've heard some really good stuff about it. That it's actually very, very short. Within like 5-10 minutes, you can get your results. I think it actually works in association with your cell phone too.
Cool.
So we can actually. I don't know if I have time to tell you the specifics of that right now.
So the good news is that Abbott has a testing kit. So I guess we answered the question then. There is a testing kit. And you can look it up. It's Abbott, ABBOTT. That's the name of the company.
It says it rolls out in 5 minutes. Well, that's a cool thing right here.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So again, the company is Abbott, ABBOTT Laboratories.
It's portable test technology. So moving on, I've been hearing a lot about. Let me go ahead and make sure I have this right over here.
So there's a pill, right?
It's a pill or drug.
It's called hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, and there's also chloroquine. So basically, there's pills, right, that can be used to treat malaria and autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. And malaria is a life-threatening disease, by the way. Like a really bad
huge flu.
Very, very big fever. That's one of the symptoms. It'll fucking kill you. And they're trying out this pill because there's an abundance of it. They used to treat malaria, and it was first used to treat malaria, right? And malaria is usually caused by a parasite. Is usually carried around by mosquitoes. Yeah. And it was approved by the FDA in 1949. Okay? Sorry, the chloroquine was approved in 1949. Hydroxychloroquine was approved in 1955.
Right.
And chloroquine actually has a little bit more side effects than hydroxychloroquine, which is why they prefer to use hydroxychloroquine more so than chloroquine, because it has fewer side effects. But there are side effects for both medications, which are common with higher doses of things, with long-term use, obviously, you know what I mean? So, irreversible visual changes, you know what I mean? Abnormal heart rhythm, muscle weakness or nerve pain, and low blood glucose, basically, and then worsening of psoriasis.
Well, the main thing about this drug right here, what it's going to be able to do, if it works, we have an abundant supply of this, right?
A ton, like a
It's already approved by FDA. We've actually got some more supply. If this happens, this could be the miracle cure for a lot of people, because it actually blocks the passageway of the COVID-19 parasite.
And it's a pill, so you can just take it from the mouth.
Take it.
You can literally grab the pill and just swallow it.
This happens. This can be the huge key. A lot of people have taken it. They've actually had some studies. Now, we are already talking about how we don't like the Chinese too much. I mean, we
Correction. You don't like the Chinese
Chinese government too much, right?
I like Chinese people.
Me too. I'm sorry about that.
Some of them are extremely attractive.
But we have some people, we've had some patients in China. Now, we always want to use them as a grain of salt, but we have one study that happened. We had about 62 patients who received it, and after 5 days, many of the symptoms for these patients were actually gone.
Now, the amount that each of them got was about 200 milligrams twice a day for 5 days. So that, I think, was their testing dose.
Right.
So that's what they used as their testing dose. That's what gave them the most results, was 200 milligrams twice a day.
But we had that situation, and also a study in France. We actually have some stuff right now inside the United States where they have petri dishes, and they've actually been able to help eradicate the COVID disease. Actually, it's actually been kind of a great thing. So we've had different stuff. We have different studies. It's been known to we have effects against, like we said, malaria and SARS and different types of diseases before this happens. It could actually be a huge thing. Now, there's not a lot of testing, or there's a lot of testing, but there's not enough data yet to know if it'll work.
It's still under investigation for clinical trials. So
we've actually done something though faster in history this time. We've actually identified coronavirus faster than we ever had in recent history. We've also which means we'll be able to come up with an antidote in about a year. hopefully sometime next year we're going to have actual antidote for this particular disease. But before then, as far as a treatment option and a potential cure.
So with that being said, right?
You're right.
With there being a cure, now again, it's still under investigation in clinical trials. That's extremely important that you guys understand that. So don't get your hopes up, but also don't get depressed that there's nobody's not doing shit about it. Okay, that's kind of important that you guys understand that it's still being researched, it's still being tested. There's still shit going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
But at the same time too, right? Are they now that it's become, if they do find a way to totally neutralize the coronavirus within the year, because I believe that can happen. Next step is vaccine.
Vaccine takes a long time. That's the only problem, to be able to combat it. But that's not uncommon with many other viruses. A lot of people out there don't realize that majority of viruses...
Because there has to be some sort of antidote.
There is. It's going to happen. But majority of viruses, they don't have cures for in general. Because of the fact that the way viruses work, it's kind of like, if you look at evolution on the molecular scale, they're supposed
to have short...
Think of animals or moths, for example, over time, how they change colors, how they adapt to their environment. Well, think of that with viruses, but on a cellular level, at a very molecular type of level. So what that means is it happens at a very rapid pace. That's why we have so many viruses out there that change and transform.
Like I said, they have a small shelf life.
Right. And they adapt and they get stronger and stronger.
Evolve, yeah.
And that's why our antibiotics become infected and we have to redo them again.
Because it's either you kill the whole thing at once, or it absorbs and adapts. That's basically how
And unfortunately, there's no way you can kill a virus 100% completely.
Just kill the person. No, from killing the person, yeah.
It's always nature is out there and stuff.
But there are ways to combat it, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in that particular sense, it would be okay. So like I said, there people are taking steps to make sure that they eradicate the virus. Right now, that like I said, patience is very, very important. You know what I mean?
Right.
While scientists do what they can to compile more research, investigate, and test. Testing is incredibly important. It's like when you come up with a new role-playing game. You have to test out the mechanics to make sure before you release it out into the world. It's the same thing with this. You know what I mean? Patience is important here. Don't lose your shit, basically. All right? Do not ruin this.
Don't ruin your shit.
Yeah, don't ruin this, all right? Just be patient. You know, there isn't enough medical data to see if it works. Okay? But
they've had some studies of petri dishes and stuff, and in France, they've actually had a 100% curing rate in that study that I remember researching. There's some huge prospects for this. On our next topic, I think we can head over. Stay safe out there with the coronavirus. You know, stay home when you can, or don't go to large crowds.
Oh yeah, one more thing too. If you're gonna sneeze, do me a favor.
Cover your fucking mouth.
Use your shoulder.
Yeah, don't do it on your hand and stuff.
Yeah,
that's not
do not, and also try as much as possible not to touch your face. So it's incredibly important. Like I said, this thing transports from people to people, and usually respiratory diseases, boom, they find a way into your mouth like that. That's why they're saying cover your mouth. But they also travel on your hands, they travel on open skin, they travel on your fucking closed compartments. Try your best not to touch your face.
No.
Okay? Because most people touch their fucking face. I know I do. I do it all the time.
Everybody does. It's hard not to.
Yeah, but make sure your hands are clean. Yeah, make sure your fucking hands are clean, okay?
If you can find hand sanitizer, that'd be a helpful thing. Although soap was actually number one.
Yeah, either one would do it. Personally, wash your hands in warm water to kill the bacteria that's on your hands. Believe it or not, if you wash your hands in cold water, it's not going to do anything. But if you wash your hands in warm water, it's just going to burn them up and it's going to fucking wash it off. That's why when you'll see in restaurants in the back, they wash their dishes in hot water rather than cold water. Same thing. Now, when you shower, don't do that. When you shower, obviously shower in cold water or cold-ish water. That way they don't sink into your pores and you go around. But with your hands don't necessarily work the same way as the rest of your body does. So just wash your hands in warm water. Sneeze into your shoulder, okay, or your elbow. No handshakes. Fist bumps are okay. But for the most part, yeah, no handshakes. Sneeze into your shoulder. Try to stay a reasonable length away from somebody. You know what I mean? Also, when you're having a conversation, try not to face them completely. Kind of be at an angle so that you can dodge their whatever shit comes flying at you. If you're sick, stay at fucking home.
Absolutely.
Okay? Don't be that asshole who thinks they can that says that they're fine, brings it to work, and now everybody's sick. Don't be that guy. All right? Or woman. It can go either way, okay?
Or whatever you want.
Basically, don't be a fucking asshole, all right? Don't fucking ruin this, okay? It's very important that we all take our necessary precautions to eliminate or suppress the threat as much as possible.
So, that being said, I guess our other topic we want to talk about today, it's education.
And but before we do, we just want to make sure that everything, if you want to know what the U.S. government is doing to prevent this, or in its steps into preventing the virus.
We can talk about that first if you want.
We have the link here for you specifically, just in case. If you think we're full of shit, that we're just grabbing our shit from random news sources, actually that's not the case. We take a lot of caution. We take a while to search a website because we need to know its credibility source. Because we don't like giving false information to anybody. Now, does that mean that we're 100% right? Not necessarily. If we're proven incorrect, then on a different episode, I will admit I'm wrong, and then we'll address the proper information. However,
we should give them our email address too.
Yeah. With that being said, I'll give you we'll definitely give you our email if you guys wish to fucking send your comments, or if you just want to fucking talk about a certain topic, or if
they
you
have
to prove it. Yeah, or if you have a topic, hit us up. We'll talk about it. If you guys want to know, if you guys found an error in anything that we've said, that would be a perfect time for you to send us shit. It's incredibly important that if we're wrong, for you guys to tell us we're wrong and why. Or if you like what we say,
let us know.
Yeah, let us know. If you come up with a topic you want us to talk about, we'll talk about almost anything. Like, seriously, we'll talk about...
this is called fucking Free Think for a reason.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah, it's called Free Think for a reason because we're also fearless. We don't really give a fuck.
We don't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah, pretty much now. So the link here is www.usa.gov/coronavirus. Okay? Again, it's www.usa.gov/coronavirus. Use this link here. It should give you everything that the U.S. is doing to try to prevent it. Now, mind you, there's a lot of information because it breaks it down into multiple different categories.
We have some of the topics right here.
It breaks it down to health and safety. It breaks it down to immigration. It breaks it down to money and taxes, travel, immigration and transportation, education, scams and fraud, benefits and grants, housing, federal building status updates and national parks, voting, elections, courts, communications, business, etc., etc., etc. And that shit's kind of fucking important, So, like I said, I trust this website. You know what I mean? I do. We kind of looked into it a little bit just to see that their links were actually like
not gonna go through some porn site or something.
yeah. Or so we looked into it to make sure that these links are legitimate and what the information in their stats are not misleading. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's important to have an overview the same as us. We don't want to convince you one way or another, but what we do want to do is make sure that you understand that shit gets fucking crazy sometimes. You know what I mean? And it's very important for us that you guys stay safe, because we care about you fuckers.
We do.
We don't care about it. We don't care about political parties, political agendas. We don't give a shit about that. We do care about is the individual. Because
Absolutely.
whether you're from Spain, you're from England, you're from anywhere, you know what I mean? UK, Europe, Africa, Asia, whatever the fuck. We care about you just because you're human.
Virus has no parties.
Yep. Exactly. It discriminates equally.
It does.
Illnesses, we discriminate equally. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that you guys are safe. Please do whatever you can. Not like those dumbass bitches that decided to march in Spain. Don't fucking do that, please.
Stay fucking home.
Stay fucking home. Right? Limit contact as much as fucking possible. Okay? Please be safe. And also, one more thing before we end it. We want to make sure to give you one more little piece of tidbit information. The U.S. is trying. Okay, every country in the world, I believe, that has this that has everything going on, has this fucking epidemic. They're trying. Okay. I'm not saying go into mass hysteria mode. Okay.
There's some recommendations right over here for you.
But please, fucking be patient. Okay. Don't go fucking crazy. Don't get nuts. Don't go into depression. Like I get it. Like when you feel trapped and stuff, and you want to get out and do stuff, you feel like you're depressed as you're contained and stuff. Like I get that. This is one of the cons about being contained in one specific spot. It plays on your mental illnesses. It makes them bigger. You know what I mean? Depression is a real fucking thing, so it's exciting. You know what I mean? But believe it or not, people are working around the clock to make sure that this fucking thing gets taken care of. Please, again, be patient, stay fucking safe, everybody, and I mean fucking everyone here, okay, needs to do their part to help the public, right, by staying home as much as possible, limiting contact with people.
That's the main thing right there. Limit your contact with your fellow people.
Yeah. Don't be like those groups of fucking people.
Don't go out there with a fucking parade of people.
And think that you're gonna cause any right now is a perfect time to cause political change. Because right now it's not about that. Right now it's not
about
health.
activism or your political bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about your political bullshit right now.
Or at all. You know what I mean? Like right now. Right now what matters is you as the individual. Right. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, or if you walk another line like I do. Okay? What matters right now is that you're fucking safe, that everybody that you care about is safe. So please, for the love of God, or whatever fucking guy you pray to, or female you pray to, whatever your fucking whatever your fucking religion is. Even if you're a fucking atheist, Satanist, whatever fucking type of Christian you are, including Catholics, whatever the fuck it is.
It's a lot of fuck.
Stay the fuck at home. Right? Do not fucking ruin this. Alright? Please. Alright. And from then, we're just gonna say, have a good one.
Later.
Be safe. And we'll be back soon.
We're gonna be talking about education. Next topic.